Now, for the airplane, which our colleagues were just asking about, how long can the virus material last on a surface?
The virus can last hours to a day. That's been the estimate. It's similar to other coronaviruses.
Up to a whole day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've not heard that before, but glad you're clarifying that.
Different surfaces have different...
We've heard we've heard the generalization before, and I think that's what is sometimes confusing. So up to a day.
But Gorman already has a rare disease and is immunocompromised. She believes she's experiencing symptoms, but because she isn't on that watch list, she can't get tested. The science teacher says she's been told she isn't sick enough to get tested, and she worries if she does get to that point, it may be too late.
So by the state not being able to test people unless they are literally in the hospital, dying, or on this very short list of who they consider in danger, they are putting the most vulnerable of their population in incredible risk. It's very easy to dismiss us as a group, but to not care about 2.5% of your population that could die from this disease as it spreads, which is basically the message we're sending if we are not going to test anyone except the very, very ill, then that disease is going to sweep through and kill the people that are susceptible.
Times were troubled. A war going on. The flu epidemic that followed the boll weevil. 3 catastrophes right there. A new disease, just like another epidemic would be, perhaps, maybe not the flu, but something else. And it would be a new disease. We would have to learn to deal with it. The people were buried in the clothes they died in and wrapped in the sheets because there was no way no one to wash the bed linens for them. So they were buried in a common grave. It was prevalent. The greatest problem, of course, was getting medication.
Now, so far, about 20% of the coronavirus cases have been severe, about 5% critical. By comparison, it's estimated less than 2% of those infected with seasonal influenza this year have even needed to be hospitalized.
To be crystal clear, COVID-19 is not the seasonal flu, says Dr. Anthony Fauci.
It's not, because it's brand new. When you have a brand new virus in which no one has had any experience before, that gives the virus kind of an open roadway to spread. Right now, if you look at the people who just come to the attention of the health authorities, that's 2 to 2.5%. But even if it goes down to 1%, that's still very, very serious.
By comparison, worldwide, the seasonal flu kills 300 to 650,000 people a year. That means it kills just 0.1% of the people it infects. Remember, that's with an effective flu vaccine and treatments, neither of which are currently available for COVID-19.
So if it went from 2% to 1%, you were still 10 times more lethal than the standard influenza that we get on a seasonal basis.
I'd say 1/4 of an acre and planted sweet potatoes. And I would say that half of the community lived off that potato patch because no one was able to go shopping. No one was able to cook. Could bake a few potatoes even if it was in the fireplace.
It's important not to panic.
And there's a difference between panic and preparedness. Here are some of the recommendations. Make sure you have enough non-perishable food on hand. Things like canned foods like soups, vegetables, also grains and pasta. There's a list of things you need in your home, things that will last for at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Antibacterial soap and wipes, toilet paper, tissues, and laundry and dish detergents, must-haves. Head to the pharmacy, get prescriptions filled, and buy over-the-counter pain medications and cold meds. When it comes to water, you'll need 1 gallon per person per day. You can also buy hydrating drinks.
Some things are fulfilled already, and I looked at it more from a fulfillment. But That's not it. That's not it at all, guys. It's completely, you're finding out, and we're finding out more and more and more. So many prophecies were fulfilled 2,000 years ago. I mean, the next major event, other than what they're about to do now, which is going to force
the mark of the beast.
And you may also have to develop new routines,
like banking, shopping,
working and educating your children
Online.
This is why I say you can't buy or sell. Look at all these different websites, because they came against just people that have tried to expose the crimes that are done. They've been demonetized, deplatformed. Hello, does anybody remember the scripture says you can't buy or sell saving you take the mark? I mean, is anybody starting to put the picture together?
They've been demonetized, deplatformed.
Hello, does anybody remember the scripture says you can't buy or sell saving you take the mark?
They've been demonetized, deplatformed.
I mean, is anybody starting to put the picture together? And this is moving on a global scale. Because I see he talks about, he seems to love the Jewish people and stuff, and wants to see them be one to Christ and stuff. And then, because he hates Rick Wiles, because Rick is willing to say the truth about things, he's out there writing that he should be deplatformed from everything that there is. One day you're going to have to give an account, because you know in your heart what you're doing. And there's other ministers that are listening to this broadcast tonight as well. You know as well. You know as well, you sold out. You sold out Christ. And instead, you went down a Talmudic path. How many Orthodox Jews do you think will stand there on the day of the judgment and they're going to demand of you, why didn't you tell me the truth? You knew, and instead you just went along and played a game with me? How many souls will you have to answer for? There's a scripture in the Old Testament about that right there. As a watchman, you know what the enemy's up to, and you don't warn him about what's coming.